Have you seen the patterns that form in salt on vibrating plates that change with different frequencies? Vibrations have the power to move or even break apart matter, which on a quantum level is also just a collection of vibrations. Now, chords are combinations of frequencies that can affect our physical body or emotions through a vibrational field. And furthermore, melodies are groups of frequencies expanded throughout the fabric of space-time that have the power to heal the sick or sway the opinions of crowds of thousands or transmit messages to and from the divine spirit realm. This is why straying too far from the melody can change its overall efficacy, but also why certain melodies are universal across nature, like the golden ratio. Today we're going to discuss some of these universal melodies and how we can use them for the greater good. Let's start with this simple melody that is used across many different cultures throughout human history. Now this melody is over a natural minor scale, which is a lot more closely related to its relative major scale than some other forms of minor scales, such as this one that has a lowered second, a raised third, a raised seventh. You see how that has a really different emotional atmosphere to it. And so that natural minor scale that our melody is in has some aspects of the mournful minor scale, but also aspects of the more hopeful, happy major scale. And I think that that balance is part of what gives it its power. And that melody, which has probably come through plant medicines and other spirits of nature to the human world, has many different lyrics that it's come through with, whether they're to communicate with nature or animals or connect people in a ceremony through the spirit of love. And you can experience a melody one way as a group of frequencies that could be either all combined on top of each other or expanded out through time in a melody at different note lengths and one at a time, but you can recombine them and put those geometric patterns back on top of each other by using drones and playing the last note in the melody at the same time as the next note. See, that way you're creating some tension with those second intervals and recombining the different shapes and landscapes of the frequencies that are created by putting them back on top of each other, so that it's more like a local quantum existence than spread out across a linear passage of time. Also, when you raise a vibration, you're creating more energy. A higher vibration puts out more energy, which can ultimately turn into heat energy or photons, light energy. And so that's why you can create an emotional lift or increase in intensity by changing just the octave of a melody. So if I play it in that octave, and then go up an octave, how that has a lot more emotional intensity, and with its greater amount of energy, it pierces through the sound barrier more, and you can hear it kind of louder. And you'll notice that higher frequencies will pierce through other sounds a lot more because they have more of that energy and they're more detectable to the ear. And you're going to create just a greater power of transmitting the message by moving it up into higher frequencies. And so you might want to try singing your prayers in a higher frequency if you're trying to do that. And another thing you can do is, since we have all these frequencies spread out on this linear line of time, you can change the groove and the note lengths and break up different parts of the notes, and it'll get different effects. Accenting different things. Now these are all things we're doing without creating any real change in the fundamental melody. And if we want to stray from the melody, for instance, to create a more strong sense of homecoming when we return back to the melody, we can do all kinds of things even while staying with the same harmonic progression of the song. That melody. That's something that medicine bands such as the Grateful Dead have noticed when they go out on their space jams for a long time, and it'll create your mind to wander, and you'll go off on this whole tangent in your head and your trip, and then finally they come back and you're like, oh yeah, that's where we were. It's this great feeling of coming back to your reality that you're sharing with this other group of people and this specific place that you're in. And it has a lot of power if you do stray from the melody. Just be aware of what you're doing and when you're doing it and why. So maybe experiment with doing those different things, changing the groove, moving from the melody and coming back, changing the octave to create higher energy, and maybe think of some other melodies. Maybe you don't necessarily have to know all about ethnomusicology to know something that's universal across all cultures. Just think of something that you even know from growing up that is used in many different songs, like this melody. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. So you get my drift? That's obviously a sweet little major melody that is used to communicate with children and create a feeling in children. I remember that was the only song that could be used effectively to get my niece to fall asleep or stop crying when she wouldn't stop crying. Something about that melody really gets through to children. So it's used in children's songs a lot. So think about the different powers of melody and why they might be able to communicate to other realms or groups of people or have an emotional effect on people, and how you can kind of use that as a tool to create positive change in society. Thank you.